Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Living Well with Terrell, the place where we develop the mind, soul, and the body on a communal level. And today we're going to be focusing on the aspect of the mind. So if I actually decide to put those clips that I just shot in there, y'all understand why I'm laughing. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about assessing your self-worth and assessing your self-value. We're going to talk about automatically canceling yourself from certain luxuries or qualities of life, right? So that's what we're going to talk about, all right? Just a little backstory, the inspiration behind today's video. And let me come closer because the reason I added that music was because there was a little echo, you know? So anyway, the inspiration behind today's video is stemming from a conversation I had with one of my classmates from college. Basically, shout out to my friend Jalexis. We studied together in college and, you know, we both took up chemical engineering. She's been working about a year longer than I have. And yeah, so we basically were just chit-chatting and we just got into like this whole deeper thing about, you know, the importance and the essence of our lives. Like, what is the purpose of our lives? You know what I'm saying? We both were saying how we did not want to become too comfortable in the system, right? Or we know that there's just more for us. We know that, you know, we're not going to spend the next 30, 35 years at our jobs. I mean, honestly, who knows? But we know that's just not it. So even if we do spend the next 30, 35 years at that workplace, we know that we have another passion that's going to fuel us and fulfill us spiritually, right? So let me just say this. A lot of people can gain fulfillment from the work that they do, right? So as an engineer, a scientist engineer, there are a lot of people at my job who I can tell like they're passionate about what they do. And that's not to say I'm not passionate about the work I do, because I feel like naturally I like to solve problems, I like to explore, and I like to apply critical and technical thinking skills to solve problems, to innovate things, to create things. So I'm definitely passionate about that. But there are those people in my job who have PhDs who love this thing, who like this work actually fuels them, you know, and I can't necessarily say the work that I do fuels me. It gives me a sense of awareness, and I feel like a sense of development. I'm definitely developing my corporate, social, networking skills, my analytical skills, my problem solving skills. So I'm gaining a lot from this job, but other people are gaining that, and they're also gaining fulfillment because this is their passion. This is what they want to do. So she and I were discussing passions and essentially what we want to do in life. And we both kind of got to a point where we, you know, as I already shared with you guys, we know there's more. I have my personal dreams and ambition. You know, you guys know I do modeling, but I'm really passionate about film. And ultimately, I want to create some indie films, some independent films that kind of raise awareness to certain things, certain issues that are important to me, right? So I want to use creative resources to kind of spread awareness in an entertainment form to get things done. And she shared with me that, you know, all these years I've known her, I never knew she had a passion for like, you know, interior design and things like that. So it was new to me, and it was just an eye-opening conversation because it ultimately led us to discovering the topic of today, which is automatically ruling yourself out of a certain lifestyle, right? And it was a bit hypocritical in my case specifically because I remember, you know, growing up in Chicago and just seeing like, you know, how many people I went to class with, how they kind of grew up to be, you know, and this is no disrespect, no judgmental tone or whatever, this is just the reality of it, how a lot of them had grown up to be statistics. And you know, these would be the people who had the finer things in life, right? They would have so many nice things at that point in time, like relatively, and just to grow up to see them become statistics, right? Yeah, it was just an eye-opening thing because I'm like, wow, a lot of things teachers said about certain students, it actually became true. And I was thinking to myself, only if they knew what was out there, right? Because even though I was young, like I feel like I always wanted to explore, like I always knew there was more to life. And I have my parents to thank for that, honestly. Like, even though I didn't have a perfect childhood, one thing I learned from my parents was, to think outside of the box, like to think beyond your circumstances and what's in front of you. And I used to just say to myself, man, I used to be telling friends from college that I would be connected, friends from college, friends from back home sometime, like, man, you can do this program, you can do that, you can do this. It's a whole world out there. A lot of them haven't even been out of Chicago. And that to me is crazy because I've been from country to country, and just knowing that a lot of my friends from back home, or people that I went to school with from back home, they've never been outside of Chicago. And that to me is just crazy because it's like, not only have they not been outside of Chicago, but they've never been introduced to anything beyond their means, right? They've never been introduced to like higher education. It's not that they haven't been introduced to it, but they haven't necessarily been receptive to it because it has not been something that was presented in their life in an obtainable manner. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, the scope of what we're going to be talking about today. So, reflecting on all of that and my upbringing and just on how far I've come, I was conversing with my friend and she was mentioning the same thing, but then we both kind of were confronted with the fact that we've subconsciously told ourselves this was our potential, right? When you put things on a pedestal for so long, like for me, graduating college and making good money was placed on a pedestal in my life because I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, right? And even people in my family will make it seem like this big, huge thing because, again, it's relative. That same ideology of the people I went to school with, they probably saw, staying in Chicago, wearing certain clothes, achieving that level of social status was the peak. And likewise, people from my family, some people from my family, different parts of my family, they probably saw, me going to college was like me making it. Like that's a big thing, and righteously so, right? When you think about it, like that's a pretty expected thing. So in my mind, I always used to think the same thing. Like, once I graduate college, that's it. I'm done. But in reality, now that I'm here, I'm at that point like, okay, I'm here and I'm not satisfied. I'm not fulfilled. But why am I not satisfied? Why am I not fulfilled? And I had to think deeper, like it's because I've already neglected myself of achieving things higher, right? Because to me, in my mind, my capacity had already been reached. So it's like I was going up here like this, and then bam, I hit my capacity, and now I can only go like this, I can go further this way, or I can go further that way. But there's no such thing as beyond. Like this is the limit for me. But it wasn't until I started thinking and I saw I felt lost while I was at this level. Cause like in my spirit, I know there's more for me, but it felt just like darkness, like I was in a dark room. And as soon as she and I came to this realization, it started to crack, like the surface started to crack and light started to come in. And I'm just like, oh shit, there's light coming from there. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, like the sky is falling. And then it hit me like, there's more, to achieve. Like all those other things that I know about, all those other lives that people are living that I kind of never really associated as attainable. It's obtainable, right? It's obtainable. And we kind of were conflicted at the point because we're like, damn, like we can really achieve this shit. Like you can really achieve what you put your mind to. And I know it's crazy because you see the most successful people, they say the same thing. Like if you're a person who watched those YouTube videos with all those successful people, they say, you can do this, you can do that. Like you really cannot set limitations to yourself. Like do not set limitations to yourself. And that's what I learned. Me being as ambitious, as successful and intelligent as I am, I had already capped myself unknowingly, because I always know that millionaires exist, right? I know billionaires exist, and it's not even necessarily about money. It's about the degrees of freedom that financial security can grant you and the lifestyle it can afford you. Like, I knew that those things existed, but I had never associated them as something that could realistically happen to me. I never saw that as my circumstance. And this was all subconscious. Like, I didn't know that I had put myself in this box. And today we're gonna talk about unpacking that box and busting out of that box, because guess what? It's hella space out here, you know? And if you are someone who is trying to achieve something and you want to do something, like, there is nothing wrong with being realistic about your situation. You know, it's good to kind of acknowledge your circumstance, but don't confuse your circumstance with your value or your worth. You know that analogy where they just be like, I don't know if it's an analogy, but that story where they say, you see a $100 bill, it's worth $100. If I ball this $100 bill up, blow my nose with it, wipe my ass with it, and throw it, it's still gonna be worth $100. So that's the same for you. If life ball you up, blow its nose with you, and wipe its ass with you, and throw you, guess what? You still worth $100. Well, you worth more than $100, you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all worth $40. No, I'm just playing, but you still worth $100. And just, I feel like once you know your worth, you know that you're $100, right? You don't mistake yourself for $1 just because you're a little wrinkled. Like, okay, just because I'm a little wrinkled don't mean, you feel me, I'm $1. I'm not less than what I am. It's just the circumstance and the conditions of my situation have changed a bit. But nonetheless, I still am who I am, right? So that's the big takeaway from this video. I think I'm going to do a follow-up video and break things down a bit more, but I just feel like this video is getting a little too long. Hopefully y'all received that message in the best form. I'm going to drop another video probably within the next few days. We getting a little traffic, so be sure to subscribe, hit that like button. I feel like that's really helping me. Hit that like button so the algorithm can do its thing. Other than that, y'all be good. Peace.